Game entry narration assistance. Press triangle to turn off. Press square to continue. Photosensitive seizure warning. If you, or anyone in your family, have an epileptic condition, consult your physician prior to playing New World Aeternum. Press square to continue. Basic settings. Press square to continue. Brightness settings. Press square to continue. Press circle to go back. Code of conduct. You agree to protect the community, play fair, and to respect each other. Press square to accept. Select character screen. Press square to continue. Events screen. Press circle to exit. Select character screen. Press square to continue. Create character. Would you like to proceed with creating a new character? Press circle for no, press square for yes. Loading. Please wait. Intro cushion. Hold cross to skip.
I don't like it. Sailing to an uncharted island with strange folk aboard.
Keep your voice down. I don't want the captain to hear you.
It ain't the captain I'm worried about. It's our priest. If he's a man of the cloth, I'm the Virgin Mary.
All you seek will soon be yours, Captain. It is indeed the island of legend.
So you say. If you're wrong, the price of the voyage will be paid in blood. Yours. And those vagabonds you brought along.
They merely seek adventure, Captain. The island calls to those who forge their own destiny.
Character appearance. Press square to continue. Press circle to go back. Character appearance. Press square to continue. Press circle to go back. Character name. Character name. Please type a character name. Press circle to go back. Press square to continue with your character named Ranger King. Press circle to go back. Entering Hudsonland in crossplay. Press square to create character. Press circle to go back. Entering Panja in crossplay. Press square to create character. Press circle to go back. Loading. Please wait. Loading. Please wait.
You lied to me, priest!
I warned you the journey would be difficult.
You said nothing about sailing through the very gates of hell!
Hell is all but inevitable for one such as you, Aldous Thorpe. The island offers something much greater than gold. Redemption. For me, and perhaps even for you. Do not fear the storm, Captain. Faith will see us through.
Skip tutorial. The tutorial does not provide narration assistance. Would you like to skip tutorial? Press circle for no, press square for yes.
and accept my gift.
I feel your blessings surge within me. Everlasting glory will be ours. Ah, pathetic.
What is mine? And now, you will join me. No matter. You will be mine soon enough.
Loading. Please wait. For text chat with other players, press the left button to open chat. Type message then press square to send chat. For proximity voice chat with other players, press and hold the left button while speaking. Zaximus says, L Goblins, PvP focused guild looking for more people. Graven says, in not acting. Mr. Lois says, I just want to craft an axe with luck on it. Graven says, I am old, too. A Jack Late says, LB plus LS is the most bleep button mapping in any game I've ever played. M0 Arning Vodka says, same. Rancid Robert says, did they at least uncensor the dick scene? I am retarded says, hey. Don't use my name in vain. Berserk Rampage says, X Amrine.
Let the air fill your
Curse says, where's my good graphics?
conquered death and been born again.
Nod says, yes and added 3 more rancid.
No small
Stephanie X says, A.
and it won't be the
Cracked as says, W.
This is Aeternum. Ownership.
Shirt says, X Dynasty.
Stormfall, of course.
Klaus says, Klaus dances. Rancid Robert says, frick yeah.
Your blow to your head killed you.
Chimpanzee says, X supple.
But it will burst.
Summer Smith says, this is cool.
Strong. That's what matters.
Viceroy says, Minger low miskin.
So lucky as we are.
Not Caden says, X. Rancid Robert says, New World more like Freak World Emirat. Ran says, X-Ron.
Reborn.
Thorpe Zero says, Suck Fupple.
You must be starving, friend.
Nodoth says, I just took out a loan to buy EFWW and BW.
Before it disappears.
Sir Alaric Kell says, hello.
Don't
Ronan says, need a tank for Amarine.
just off the beach.
I am Joe 2080 TV says, Light Wielders Covenanty Company looking for more members. We are casual and all are welcome.
Yes.
DM me for invite.
Also want a skinning knife.
Chef Spartan says, X-Ghost.
Here, most
Tanky Willow says, Ty.
and food. And then join me.
Sir P Deity 69 says, Triner Riz up a LVL 10 got. Lil Ship says, anyone know how to claim free 25 transfer? Yeri says, WTF is a wielder. Artematus says, how do I join Team Mountain? Is it automatic? Type says, liberals. Garmer says, X. Skeletorn says, yes. Bripica says, Gremio Latino Law Federation PvP Recluta Jugadores, Wisp Para Invitation. Chimpanzee says, Chimpanzee is here now. Chimpanzee says, do not fear. Skeletorn says, PC is mountain. Player 4 says, C. Artematus says, okay so it's automatic cool thanks. Nugapolis says, I'm scared. Alex Rios says, so how do I join the Dark Brotherhood? Skeletorn says, from what I understand. Artematus says, welcome all new players. Skeletorn says, play SO. Frogman says, what do we think lads, how we liking it? Faffington says, Faffington cheers. Tanner the Booker says, this ISNT cur is. 0 Lira RDG00B says, 0 Lira RDG00B lit an ancient rocket. Skeletorn says, Ukovit. Coolnum says, does anyone play pro soccer online? Botchla Gotcha says, like these. Alex Rios says, wait this isn't SO.
Let us see what you have there.
Xbox player says, a data equals 0, enduring shiv of the ranger, /A.
Of course.
Sheos off night says, help.
Following my instructions.
Vadenkigrunk says, so is a mega purple guild set bleep here or what?
Natural, this one.
Jahir has says, wait this isn't Skyrim.
Wit and skill, if you would not
Rick Lagoon says, let others join our queue.
Corinth up the road is most
Rick Lagoon says, we need more people jelly.
on our own.
Bripica says, Gremio Latino Law Federation PvP Recluta Jugadores, Wisp Para Invitation.
But many here
Rick Lagoon says, let me be the host of the songs.
They fool
Alex
themselves.
Rios says, thought this was Oblivion.
Safe on Aeternum. We
Gundam
raise
D says, T.
pain and suffering.
Big Mac says, we have like 60 people, there's comps on here with 100 plus.
we are all a little mad on this
Resordo says, have you been to the Cloud District?
Yes, those beasts.
Forbidden Echoes says, Forbidden Echoes sits. Resordo says, of course not. Indercarnive says, throwing axe up. JTLG03 says, Amreen lobby up in GF. Retro Gecko says, at Badenkigrunks it's not a mega guild, they've been raising money and have been on since launch. Jahir has says, I've been to your mom's district. Godam. I am Joe 2080 TV says, whisper me for company invite. Light wielders. Casual. Looking to grow. Covenant. Rick Lagoon says, let others join too. McParadox says, hello. Corp says, basically strangers is recruiting. We're all basically strangers. Shots says, qua win loading. Faffington says, Faffington cheers. Fats Nasty 8 says, I can't see my friend but we on same server. Type says, game will be dead in 4 weeks, who cares? Bripica says, Gremio Latino Law Federation PvP Recluta Jugadores, Wisp Para Invitation. Fats Nasty 8 says, do they not show all people on starting beach? Q says, prob not in same place though. Tedeschi says, Olar. Cracked as says, get off if we're gonna complain bro. Q says, knob. Stephanie X says, yo guys, how do I change shards to play with my boyfriend? Q says, there's diff starting points. Chimpanzee says, shards can't be changed yerk. Hyper says, layering exists in this game. Type says, Trump gonna dismantle Amazon woke games after he gets elected. Jahir Has says, so, I go from hanging out with a hot redhead in the story to now hanging out with albino Obama. Can we go back to the hot redhead?
Cooked it just right.
Chimpanzee says, they're just shards.
Best not to let it go to
Paul
waste.
Bufano says, in 4 weeks, the people who love it will play.
If there's any food left,
Nodoth says, can someone buy Brim board? Tank Yala says, can you only get a mount if you have the DLC?
Just taking a moment to recover my
Q
strength.
says, ye.
Rebirth. Their souls
Thicka Pronasty TV says, no.
They're like demons.
Zach Simus says, LFM Marauders, L Goblin, PST. Tank Yala says, how are more people not complaining about that?
You knew.
Doyboy says, anyone in Pridwin wanna LVL together?
There is nothing
Thicka Pronasty TV says, LVL 20 and you get a free hours.
Your former crewmates to rest.
Austin Post says, are all the quest givers women?
If you want to do the deed yourself,
Tank Yala says, bleep is stupid AF.
keep your
Austin
weapon
Post says,
as
lol.
long as you don't get overrun. You should
Neon
be fine.
Doge says, Neon Doge sits. Q says, why would they? One Lilith 1 says, Alguien Español? Fujiwara says, at type everyone enjoys your company at parties huh? The guy himself says, how do I join a faction? JTLG03 says, Amreen lobby in GF, need healer. Brof Jasper says, so many syndicates. Resordo says, locking mounts behind a $40 DLC is insanely based. Sir Pediady 69 says, I would feel safer if there were no black people. Fats Nasty 8 says, Fats Nasty 8 dances. Zach Simus says, L Goblin, Marauder LFM for PvP. Winter Spring says, Winter Spring dances. The guy himself says, how do I join a faction? Tortoloff 2 says, hola. Insane Bot says, lol you're hilariously poor. Minish Cap says, estamos reclutando bleep Latino. The guy himself says, how do I join a faction? Sir Beans says, if you haven't gotten the DLC ATP why you on this lol? Chimpanzee says, X. Resort Bandit says, X Sparkaroo. Chimpanzee says, X Heel Worm Raid. Alex Ria says, summon go to the trading post and buy the head I just posted, it's real cool. Insane Bot says, on it. Octavian Leon says, can I change the starting area of the MSQ line? Or am I basically stuck with it so I can't play with friends to follow along with the same MSQ line? Rag says, I buy premium season pass and DLC. I am Mr. Bonesy 177 says, Ex Helio. Rag says, money. Neon Doge says, Neon Doge sits. Sid VK says, Buscas un gremio de latinos. Uneta nosotros, la federación recluta jugadores PvP Wikva, no temas unert. Mando DM. Thrag says, Spanish. Tank Yaya says, $60 and don't even get a basic mount is kinda crazy olin dang.
I knew our
Tank Yaya says, saying.
Who better to tutor a new
Steenita
life
says,
into
someone making a
ways
damn
of
Latin company already. Odysseus says, lag.
Know this, new blood. The
Doomk
island
says,
will
dang.
never end. Our lives.
Maverick says, cry more baby.
Time marches on. This
I am Joe 2080 TV says, Light Wielders Casual Company looking for more members, DM for invite, we are Covenant.
Must you be so grim?
Coolmum says, and
Scare off our new friend here.
Chimpanzee says, Covenant Dookie.
We not?
Jahir Has says, Latin peeps are just white people who don't want to admit they're white.
Still be others out there in the wreckage.
Broth Jasper says, lol Zaddy. M. Sharky says, WTS. Forbidden Echoes says, Forbidden Echoes sits.
Many shipwrecks.
M. Sharky says, WTS a data equals 0, star metal harvesting sickle, / a PM me offers.
Oh shit.
Shiftus says, a data equals 0, horn tooth manje, / a what a battle catching this thing.
Out.
Toxic Neckbeard says, so many geeks online right now.
Reminds me, I must search
Q
for
says,
source.
why would Latin be like that? XD.
I'm not sure which undertaking is.
Indercarnive says, wait this isn't Google.
It's no matter to me.
Devine Health says, can I turn light blooms off? Gliding says, a data equals 0, unrelenting maul of the soldier, / a data equals 1, ancient warhammer of the soldier, / abyss. Summer Smith says, I love the way the game plays now from the beginning. Bert Macklin says, bow or musket? Gimme the loot says, boo-ow. ZMB says, brisket. Winter Spring says, Winter Spring dances. Jahir Has says, these skeletons are bleep for me bum bum. Leave me alone. Hugh says, no offense. Xenoverse says, unfortunate color are you. Western says, what do they call a school in the US? Sid VK says, Buscas un gremio de latinos. Uneta nosotros, la federación recluta jugadores PvP Wikva, no temas unert. Mando DM. Xenoverse says, what asterisk? Chimpanzee says, meow. Skeletorn says, LOL. Da Rastaking says, hello new world. Alex Rios says, Grace Amelie can get it. Skeletorn says, Envoid. Chimpanzee says, light staff and flail or void gauntlet or rapier. I.F.WOLFE says, who is a veteran with over 3k hours? Wanna see a hand count? Toxic Neckbeard says, 90% of the nerds typing in global are playing on PC, lol. Da Rastaking says, oh / Berserk Rampage says, 8k lol. Joe Mama says, we have keyboards. Joe Mama says, fast and easy. I.F.WOLFE says, damn bro 8k. I have like 4 or 5 over 2 accounts but 8. Chimpanzee says, yes. Chimpanzee says, or rapier. I.F.WOLFE says, asterisk hugs bro for 8k asterisk doing God's work over here. Chimpanzee says, no, go fire staff ice gauntlet. Krizaw says, okie. Berserk Rampage says, adds up quick. Audrey Pup says, do whatever you want. Epically says, do whatever I want. I blew up the moon says, is there a lot of console people on? Toxic Neckbeard says, 90% of the nerds typing in global are playing on PC, lol. Big Mac says, it's barely a grind. Airtherial says, does the Hatchet plus Great Hammer still work for solo survival? Epically says, playing on old Switch RN. Big Mac says, 0-65 is easy, I'll be there before I go to sleep. Frogman says, how we liking the game lads? Tanner the Booker says, no. Tanner the Booker says, I'm the other Tanner. Reaper069 says, you're all noobs. Vifewego says, you're asterisk. Jangle Dangle says, you're. Slabs Mackenzie says, smokin' on that bleep that made New World look better. Sid VK says, Buscasin Gremio de Latinos. Aneta Nosotros, La Federation Recluta Jugadores PvP Waikva, Notamas on Unert. Manda DM. Mother Malice says, steamy deck workin'. Frogman says, how we liking the game lads? Ferk says, looks GR8 on PS5. T-Girl says, arf arf. Epically says, smokin' on that Golden Axe graphics pack. Celebrity says, was this server live at server opening or they at it? N30 says, Don C. Putin ver builds. Minish Cap says, Estamos reclutando Latinos para nuestra guild mandan PM. Fiasan says, does this game not have window lock? Mouse goes to other monitor. Cream says, my tip creamy too. Wagon says, Yona's face is bleep up. My tip creamy Oren says, I twi bleep. All Saggy Balls says, all Saggy Balls gives the thumbs up. Chimpanzee says, Ming they're in a diff instance in the same area. Bripica says, Gremio Latino La Federation PvP Recluta Jugadores, Wisp Para Invitation. Epically says, your friend is in a whack bleep crystal prism. Kumbo Karanen says, X up pushing E. T-Girl says, arf arf. Kumbo Karanen says, X up pushing E. Toxic Neckbeard says, X Merc X Trib X Ada. Kumbo Karanen says, X up pushing E. Goof says, bleep. Murph says, follow me back and I'll join. Pursuit G says, these kids don't know the struggle of this game a couple years ago. Tanner the Booker says, perps are coughs.
So what do you say?
Yam Anakami says, hi. All Saggy Balls says, all Saggy Balls gives the thumbs up. Alex Rios says, grant us eyes. Ryder says, LFM Company Syndicate. Quam says, Light Wielders is a casual guild looking for more members, DM for inv.
You have my thanks.
Player 4 says, any Lilith players.
Come on.
Soup Pimp says, seeking bleep minimum reach out by carrier pigeon if interested. Fujiwara says, Lilith gang. Skeletorn says, I was on Lilith. Pangy says, Pangy dances. Beyblade says, Pingus. Victator says, at Harrison not a bug, it's the archetype bonus.
what, seeing someone
Groove
who
says,
was
snooping as usual.
I was beginning to think I was all alone out
Player 4 says,
there.
we here.
Had gone mad.
Celebrity says, think they fixed all the dupes that were present during original. Voxage 3 says, nah fam or Ofena where it was at.
Somewhere on this rock.
Insane Bot says, I've got 2k armor aptitude boxes on Lilith right now.
One thing I've learned.
Lord Corduroy says, from like 3 years ago.
Keep an eye on the
Probably.
and there's booty to be had.
Coffee
here.
Pot says, Orofena was fun.
And crew had stashed on board.
Toxic Neckbeard says, Orofena sucked. Filbert says, XX. Corruptic says, me and my boys started in different zones. Is there a way we can start together? M1 Laya says, Orun was fun.
That takes coin.
Retro Gecko says, Carpathenberg gang.
You want to partner up? I'll split the
Krusty and
difference
Dusty
with
says, this guy is
Or
cool.
what the hell? 60-40 even.
Alex Ria says, how many console bois we got? Celebrity says, I quit the day after a hammer exploit happened and I got perma stunned by some guy. I posted the video on Reddit and it got picked up by gaming news channels. That was my last day.
My first mate went that way.
Ripica says, Gremio Latino Law Federation PvP Recluta Jugadores, Wisp Para Invitation.
Meet me on the other side.
Cloudsword says, at Corruptic hey you can just come to each other or you can try to make a new character and see if you spawn together. MacJack23 says, how do you unlock camping? Alf D. Chippen says, Chippendalf. Xenoverse says, your dad teaches you. Kumba Karanen says, X up pushing E. MacJack23 says, seriously. Carlson Smallgut says, Texas is back. Tanner the Booker says, I wish it wasn't back. M0 Arning Vodka says, this is RuneScape, not New World. Breakfast Food says, did you just finish your M4S Ricolairs too? Xenoverse says, hotkey is Y. Tanner the Booker says, if you go purple are a loser. Slabs Mackenzie says, I think everyone who joins yellow should be drawn and quartered. Fryzone says, lol. Bowser Too Large says, go purple. MacJack23 says, the quest is telling me to build one and when I press Y it says I haven't unlocked it. Steenita says, green on top. Western says, where is the Mount Quest T_T? Ripica says, Gremio Latino PvP Law Federation Facian Bird Recluta Jugadores, Wisp Para Invitation. Western says, Amnoob. Sid VK says, Buscasin Gremio de Latinos. Uneta Nosotros, Law Federation Recluta Jugadores PvP Whiteva, Notamazon Unert. Mando DM. Dabby says, look for horseshoe. Raven9 says, is there a community Discord for this server? Naz says, the Cult of Enigma, Covenant PvP whisper me if interested. Misdemeanor says, really? Akar Angel says, hey are able to craft braces or fingerless gloves. Laratitis says, tie. Akar Angel says, we asterisk. Tanner the Booker says, if someone makes a Discord for this server, that bleep is going to be so toxic. Player 4 says, do it. Sid VK says, Buscasin Gremio de Latinos. Uneta Nosotros, Law Federation Recluta Jugadores PvP Whiteva, Notamazon Unert. Mando DM. Zaximus says, El Goblin, looking for more marauders for PvP content. PST. Tickler Hole says, press Z. Jaded Turtle says, yeah we need a server Discord now. Tahirhas says, it can always be more toxic. Back to the Basics says, every faction/server Discord I've seen for this game has been such a cesspool. Rustic says, I think I need to be in a guild. Chimpanzee says, can someone make tier 5 stations in WW please?
I was starting to worry.
T-Rizzard says, yo.
What did you find?
Yegup says, LF cute boomer EGF.
These are definitely worth a
Grim
coin
Yeater
or
says,
two.
does anyone know
Soon as we
why
went
I
to
can't
town,
character
we'll sell them and split
transfer?
the profit.
PLZ.
Fortunately, I didn't have as much luck as you did.
Tanner the Booker says,
Downright
can't
ironic,
wait for the
swarming all over
console
the
losers to
rest of my
experience the bleep politics of
Worried
this
bad luck
game.
leaving behind my own treasures. But I can't
Chimpanzee
get through the
says, where's
bastards.
Rick Summersmith?
Now there's
Summersmith
a
says,
good
probably
mate.
off
Go
sniffing
unto it,
butts
you're
with
so
Morty or
confident.
something.
No complaints though.
Disceptor52 says, does anyone
You
bleep
can
read?
get my stuff back.
You
I'll
can't
give
transfer
a break.
here.
Most of our cargo was lost at sea. and I got
Insane
my
Bot
captain's
says,
log on the
lol.
way out.
Let M hate says,
Warning me now is leaving behind
Insane
what
Bot
she's
says,
found.
not smart enough.
Get those, and then maybe we can
Coffee
meet at the
Pot says,
campsite.
not old tunes,
Works for
just
me.
new ones. Thorkeld says, how do you thrust with musket? Axis Perfected says, cash is food. 5 says, you don't thrust with musket. Grim Yeater says, I just want to play with my friend lol. Spooner says, cram. 5 says, tell her friend to come here then. Silva says, I will succumb to the most popular faction. Kumbo Karanen says, Casanova you dumb bleep X up. Summer Smith says, do we have AI to do fact checking? Summer Smith says, this sounds like some bull. Alex Rios says, is this really all voice acted now for quests? I haven't played in 2 years. That's goated if it is. 5 says, yes. Nod says, it is. Sol Gucci Main says, just dab. Virtua Lady 2 says, we fact check in real time. Minerva says, is anyone else's chat not on the edge of the screen? Xenoverse says, oh did they bro? Really? Dang bro. Alex Rios says, that's dope. Quests 2 years ago were so lame and like no voice acting, puts it up with ESO then. Bripica says, Gremio Latino Law Federation Facian Verd Recluta Jugadores, Wisp Para Invitation. Grim Yeater says, Hez on Rosa and I am here at what to do. Back to the Basics says, it was crazy if you did 90% of the work getting it to war deck and then won the role to lead the war they would rage and say, yeah but X Guild is supposed to get the territory next. Silva says, new UI is L. Thorkeld says, do you have to buy the DLC for mount? Cloudsword says, at Yater this is a new world. Srix says, brand used world. Ascendance Lamb says, yes. My tip Creamy Oren says, yay I prefer old UI. I.F.WOLFE says, usually you just have to ask the wolves nicely and they will mount. Skullduggery P says, wish you guys realized how long it's been since I've seen an active chat in New World on a Tuesday evening. Queen Bacon Au says, I am Joe 28DTV says, anyone need a casual company DM me. Yeater says, I agree UI is strange feeling. I.F.WOLFE says, if you have to use peanut butter, though, you have no game.
You're back just
Work
in
on your
time.
game.
And you rescued a survivor.
Dr. Me Hungry says,
Your legend
y'all trash.
grows by the hour.
Cryptich says, what level is the first dungeon at?
Grace O'Malley has spirit.
Retro Gecko says, Scarab Run.
Our refuge here. She
5 says, 25, do it winner quest bring you there for the XP.
Despite her personality.
Chimpanzee says,
Use your
globs.
help against the enemy. I
Chimpanzee
see my
says,
power, but
X
it's
up
causing
4
you to
globs. Yeri says, just relog to fixed mod. Nutyadolf says, X.
Something evil is
Ripika says, Gremio Latino Law Federation Facian Verd Recluta Jugadores, Wis Para Invitation.
Over the area weren't a dead giveaway.
Chimpanzee says, X this weird 3 Terry company.
Yes.
Big Mac
yes,
says, we're good.
I told you I would check it out, and now I
Arkstorm says, how do
Some
I
dark
change
energy
starting
is
zone?
definitely coming out of that place.
Dr. Me Hungry says, come take this Everfall fort if you dare. Dr. Me Hungry says, y'all suck. Mastodon says, gay.
Now, that is the spirit of
Insane
a warrior.
Bot says, that's
We
true.
will charge into battle together, my
Kumbo
friend.
Karanen says, you walk to the other place.
Shame. A pirate can paint
Ethereal says, when you realize too late you spelled your own name wrong.
Just survived a ship.
Tempo says, we don't accept gyms.
For a cause she doesn't even understand.
Chimpanzee says, X supple then. Chimpanzee says, sigh. Breakfast food says, lol. Big Mac says, go to Rose if you wanna be with supple. Jaded Turtle says, how you hide your hat. Javo 218 says, character transfer. Fist my butt says, lol.
I suspect you will be wasting your breath.
Back to the basics says, well TBF typing on a console is a nightmare without a keyboard.
I will evade you at the entrance.
Sol
to the
Gucci Main
sea
says, cuss Xbox does VC.
gate. Not when battle beckons.
Tanner the Booker says, any Ugandians here? Dr. Me Hungry says, im Ugandian. Bandit Keith says, to hide hat open inventor click item change skin. If it's not working relog. Veelos Black says, go to your helmet slot and click, change skin. Tayswift says, hello fellow Panierns. Elena Reed says, tiramisu. Silva says, does the DLC just give me the mount/end game stuff,
Don't
right?
ask me to go on a fool crusade against those red-eyed
I.F.WOLFE says, does this mean we have to all love each other? One big supercontinent and all. Quality Wood 501 says, looking for Grace
Your
Bleak.
local friends say there's a town a bit up the
All
road.
Saggy Balls says, all Saggy Balls gives the thumbs
I'll
up.
set your part aside until you get there.
Sir Beans says, kinda liked
Saving up
when the
for a ship
XP
to
bar was at
escape
the
this
bottom.
hellish island.
Cloudsword says, at Sylvia DLC gives you LVL 60-70 content plus the mount and access to all the end game stuff added like the raid and I guess the FFA PvP zone.
I'll find a way. You can
Silva says, dope tie. Cloudsword says, NP. Legandustino says, where is the X bar at all
hope you don't
now?
end up as one of those
Lol.
monsters yourself.
Frogman says,
Don't worry about
OMG you can
farming
swim.
on the loose. You did me a favor and
Judy Lee says, weight is 70 max now.
I'll be there.
Breakfast food says, right under your HP. Dire Lass says, sometimes. Frogman says, what a crazy next gen feature. Hip3R says, L. Haz says, how do you crouch on Xbox? I farted says, I'm in the thick of everybody knows. Thicka Pronasty TV says, lol. Don Will says, dude they put the swimming in the intro huh? Toby Shinobi 420 says, L. Don Will says, what a joke to us, old folks. Cloudsword says, at Kaz maybe try clicking in the left stick. Lol. Tommy Lee says, they put swimming in the whole game too. Back to the basics says, but OFC the swimming is what saved the game, they had to put it up front. Devine Health says, old folks. How old at Dom? Celebrity says, do I have to buy the game? What edition do I buy? I owned the original plus I think the first expansion. Auuari says, Ditcher is on the drugs. Don Will says, since the alpha of New World.
Well, you gave
Kaz
it a
says,
try.
that's auto run.
Your friend is no
Io
void.
says, am I crazy or am I seeing way less iron nodes than there was before update?
Survive.
Bert Macklin says, Spear kinda feels bad.
Smart too. Now that I
Upples
see
downright
the
says,
corruptions
LF1 Amreen.
I realize Erta was right.
Spear says, Spear is best.
Such numbers. And I fear they will attack our heaven.
I.F.WOLFE says, just test the wind sword route.
I am.
I.F.WOLFE says, if it is T he same it is still
She pokes
there.
fun at me sometimes, but
Don Dussy says, Spear slaps upgraded.
I was looking forward to spilling corrupted blood.
Spear says, Spear is best.
I can't let you have all the fun
Shamius
without
says, run animation is new A.
me. Erta is in danger.
Hanko Kwan says, how do you sheath her weapon?
Can have the glory today, my friend.
Faffington says, Faffington cheers.
If you find the source
Rick Lagoon says, invite
destroy it
me.
and get the hell out.
Fujiwara says, it feels that way cause they more and doubled the server cap and didn't add any new nodes. I.F.WOLFE says, there is nothing wrong with the dinosaur route. Rick Lagoon says, invite me at Wukush.
Witness the power manifest.
Toxic Neckbeard says, X Merc X Trig X Ada. Maya Winter says, a data equals 0, clam, /a. Cloudsword says, at Hanko Kwan check key bindings, I think maybe, X, is default sheath. Maybe it's unbound by default though. I set it to, Z, which is the AUG weapon sheath keybind. All Saggy Balls says, all Saggy Balls gives the thumbs up. Reeler says, tilde now. Toxibur says, is this the fresh start server? Like a new server? Cloudsword says, at Toxibur you bro it's fresh. Visible says, how do I pull out my mount? Toxic Neckbeard says, X Scorp. Veelos Black says, no this is bone and grippity. Alex Rios says, my mount's always available. Uragu says, you can set your pronouns in the character window. Alex Rios says, that's so Raven. OM says, this is old world. I.F.WOLFE says, at visible. Never pull out. Super Joe says, so many 65s. Cloudsword says, welcome all console players. He call me shot says, yo. I farted says, y'all hear the Hop Chua podcast ha ha ha. Slimy Fart says, any slimy farts in chat? SBIDTH says, depends if it's your first time using your mount. Visible says, how do I pull out my mount? Player 4 says, X. I.F.WOLFE says, lube and patience. I am retarded says, foul. Steenita says, you had to log into normal New World to get Wolf pre-order on PC. Botchla Gotcha says, nice. Fart Naka says, I knocked it. Squaggles says, name checks out. Botchla Gotcha says, that's wild. Faffington says, Faffington cheers.
You steal that which is mine.
Squaggles says, found the furry.
And now you disrupt my
Ian Ked says, any purple here.
personal.
Alex Rios says, on light that perp drank. Steenita says, nope. Green on top. Green on top. Crip Minch says, believe it's good to be back. The return of DJ Seki. Slim Shaddy says, a data equals 0, star metal ingot / a WTS.
I knew you had triumphed.
Faffington says, Faffington cheers.
Some kind of
Evelyn
abomination.
says, can I get a refund yet?
I've heard tales of
Inderkarnaev says, New World is my favorite fishing sim.
You shut the bastards down, did you?
I.F.WOLFE says, New World is a good and general sim.
Fang machines are corrupted.
A Jack Lade says, you have to talk to Oziach.
Let's not get ahead
Sir
of
Escanor
ourselves.
says, looking to join guild. I get 4 days off a week looking to get strong and conquer the realm.
To be an isolated occurrence.
Summer Smith says, fishing plus housing, got it all.
More than once.
Regina Lamia says, I just realized, I guess the PC players do have a bit of an advantage. We've been playing this game for years and have hundreds if not thousands of hours in this game.
The corrupted in a campaign to consume.
All Saggy Balls says, all Saggy Balls gives the thumbs up.
It is unlikely you would be here.
Sack Punch GG says, lol.
Make no mistake. An avatar.
Glazinator says, really?
Warn the nearby. That would be for the best.
T. Orbeck says, some of us hundreds of thousands.
Misunderstandings between
Poem says, is this a fresh start server or nah?
He likes it here.
Rick Lagoon says, invite them.
Valor is deserving of a reward.
Sainc says, W.
Vonse.
Kurzo says, that's our reward for beta testing for years lol.
You earned it.
Big Justice says, I like fishing. Summer Smith says, pounding levels doesn't make the game fun though. Alex Ria says, good I'm a fish, catch me. Sack Punch GG says, what do you pound to make the game fun? Evelyn says, can someone donate me a PC? Regina Lamia says, I guarantee they called it beta testing for us as to not piss us off as much now. Alex Ria says, cocaine. Salty PAB says, K. All Saggy Balls says, all Saggy Balls gives the thumbs up. All Saggy Balls says, all Saggy Balls gives the thumbs up. Sack Punch GG says, not a bad answer. Hanko Kwan says, is there an Otterun key? Dona It Trump says, hello. 5 says, yes it's equals. Hanko Kwan says, thanks guys. Virtua Lady 2 says, gets the president. Judith says, yo Trump I'm votin' for you. Mastodon says, hey Donnie. Alex Ria says, hey Donald, bleep. I.F.WOLFE says, and I thought I was controversial over here with my mount jokes. Salripple says, tie. Aerofall Echo says, rel C. Frogman says, Scott Rick says, how do I transfer character to another world? Labrandier says, get rid of the immigrants. Chicken Tank says, a data equals 0, rawhide / a you are hot micking. Summer Smith says, do we have Otterun button? Chicken Tank says, can hear your whole thing. Faffington says, Faffington cheers. Cloudsword says, Summer Smith Yay 3 is an auto run button, check keybinds. Queen Bacon you says, oh the bleep are here. Evelyn says, Evelyn sits. Steenita says, save me Donald Trump. Kaz says, love talking politics in games. Lituhawk says, Donald Trump is a pedophile. Player 4 says, W. Sweeps says, a pedophile. Hildegard Knox says, feels like they downgraded the graphics. Tayswift says, Mike Block did it. Hildegard Knox says, the textures look really bad lol. Kuso says, I think it looks better, maybe it's just the HDR. Romp says, Mike Block did September 11th. Captain Sparta says, Kashava says, it's like the same Garbo I played 2 years ago. LOL says, anyone know what an icon with an unconnected plug with a yellow warning triangle means? Earl Grey Hottie says, what level can you unlock mount? Steenita says, 20. Player 4 says, 25. Player 4 says, 20. Mystic Bliss says, and you need expand shine to use it. Cloudsword says, what's 9 plus 10? Player 4 says, 11. I.F.WOLFE says, you unlock a mount with charisma and lube. Wistala says, the yellow disconnect icon means you are being investigated for hacking. Tanner the Booker says, 2 weeks. Dr. Me Hungry says, Umami Lords are recruiting for new and returning players. We are PvP based and we ain't Scarwe. Hit me up. Cloudsword says, we are all AI bro. Kashava says, big justice, you stole my face. Young Yoda says, yo. Paul Bufano says, how am I to do my PvP missions with all these sweaters? Sora the Explorer says, a data equals 0, g.r.e.g, / a best sword. Jaded Turtle says, X. Sora the Explorer says, a data equals 0, roots axe / a best axe. Cloudsword says, bro how is that a real sword at Sora the Explorer? Tocino says, a data equals 0, pristine dawn / a WTS. Lanky Bonus says, welcome back everyone. Sack Punch GG says, it's not a sword. Amorosa says, a data equals 0, shadcloth / a X300 WTSDM. X Demented says, recruit more Covenant. I.F.WOLFE says, at Lucky Duck remember PvP has target lock now. Starkled says, this is a green server. Scottrick says, can you transfer characters to DIF worlds? El Tanka L says, Apex is a casual syndicate company recruiting members of all skill levels. We do PvP and PvP content. Whisper me. Cop says, target lock sucks though. Reese Water says, you just called the server slow then typed out, skull. Reese Water says, LOL. Rolf Jasper says, J. Cloudsword says, yo how fresh is this server? I.F.WOLFE says, NGL, if you cannot overcome target lock you deserve to be bottom. I don't like it, but consider it challenge mode for us PC players. Blazana says, I said I don't think you can. Smakahantas Kush says, a data equals 0, blue winged serpy / a. I.F.WOLFE says, bottoming is fun po, just bite the pillow and hold on. Matthias Roland says, question, do I get more XP for optional parts of a quest? Cloudsword says, yo, how fresh is this server? Yappa says, target lock is so stupid. I Trident says, Philosopher's Stone, WTSPM offer. Dulcinea Fullman says, is game dead? Sack Punch GG says, problem is every game is getting target lock so it's just a matter of time before everyone is using it, remember they will have a hard aim leading targets. Dulcinea Fullman says, W. Sweeps says, I'm not a geek, I'm a sexy woman near you. Player 4 says, BD yeah. Toxic Neckbeard says, so many geeks online right now. Helica says, and nerds. Cloudsword says, how is typing on consoles BTW? I heard it was bad on Throne and Liberty. Cloudsword says, can we get some console typers up in here? I.F.WOLFE says, you can be whatever you want, good for you. Legit, good for you. But this is a video game, dude. Just contribute in team sports. Steenita says, typing is easy, you just plug in a keyboard to your console. T. Orbeck says, ooh, it's the Whittle console bois. Cornelio says, hose. Terp says, do it clap. Summer Smith says, is the swimming mechanic new? Malone says, who TF says, Whittle. Cloudsword says, BTW pro tip to all the new chatters, you can at people. Specietalian says, help step bro, I'm stuck. Mighty Moose says, I love New World chat. Amorosa says, a data equals 0, silk, / a x500 left WS. Cloudsword says, at sackpunchgg don't at what? Steenita says, consoles are computers. Sackpunchgg says, SMH. My tip Creamy RN says, at Zobalin can I join the guild big bro? Alex Ria says, step bro, I'm stuck. 5 says, yay, a PC with a 14-year GPU prob. Kill a Man says, kill a man dances like there's no tomorrow. Malik says, a bussy. Colfax 4 says, looking for a guild, im trans BTW. T. Orbeck says, DND is based. Savvy says, congrats being trans, no one cares. 5 says, imagine being trans lol. Drex says, you all need kids. I have one kid chopping wood on the PS5, another minning on the Xbox while I level on PC. That's how you game. Arcadia Storm says, Kamala or Trump. Jonah says, I don't like how I can see the whole map, there should be fog of war. Summer Smith says, press 3 francs. Cini the Great says, XP then the spear. Talk CJ says, who cares if you're trans / black / guy / girl / bacon / dog / cat / lesbian / Chinese. Cornelio says, freaking. God's Gift says, Trump 2024. Spear says, Spear is best.
Oh
Bladius says, im console. SGT Squirt says, why did they break jumping all now? Sweeps says, did they reduce the game textures for the console release? Virakacha says, Didi guy. Verdict says, yeah, it's good to play again with a lot of people. Drakavishti TV says, welcome console homies. Bareals Mac says, has anyone else gotten the little power cord?
Come back to me, Elf Lord.
Listen, Reach has been good to me. Time has come to return the favor.
Come back to me, Elf Lord.
Listen, Reach has been good to me. Time has come to return the favor. Come back to me, Elf Lord. Listen, Reach has been good to me. Time has come to return the favor.
Come back to me, Elf Lord.
Listen, Reach has been good to me. Time has come to return the favor.
Come back to me, Elf Lord.
Listen, Reach has been good to me. Time has come to return the favor.
Come back to me, Elf Lord.
Listen, Reach has been good to me. Time has come to return the favor. good to me. Time has come to return the favor.
Oh dear. Come back to me, Elf Lord.
Listen, Reach has been good to me. Time has come to return the favor.
Oh dear. Come back to me, Elf Lord.
Listen, Reach has been good to me. Time has come to return the favor.
Oh dear. Come back to me, Elf Lord.
Listen, Reach has been good to me. Time has come to return the favor.
Oh dear. Come back to me, Elf Lord.
Listen, Reach has been good to me. Time has come to return the favor. Time has come to return the favor.
Oh dear. Come back to me, Elf Lord.
Listen, Reach has been good to me. Time has come to return the favor.
Oh dear. Come back to me, Elf Lord.
Listen, Reach has been good to me. Time has come to return the favor.
Oh dear. Come back to me, Elf Lord.
Listen, Reach has been good to me. Time has come to return the favor.
Oh dear. Come back to me, Elf Lord.
Listen, Reach has been good to me. Time has come to return the favor.
Oh dear. Come back to me, Elf Lord.
Listen, Reach has been good to me. Time has come to return the favor.
Lord.
Listen, Reach has been good to me. Time has come to return the favor.
Oh dear. Come back to me, Elf Lord.
Listen, Reach has been good to me. Time has come to return the favor.
Oh dear.
Bluebird says, I paid $60 US. T. Orbeck says, you got fleeced. Back to the Basics says, I loved First Light. Back to the Basics says, since everyone else hated it, it was always empty. The IVTH says, hell no. Back to the Basics says, meaning so many herbs. Colfax 4 says, I paid $1,000. Back to the Basics says, nobody contesting my ores. Cloudsword says, where my life skillers at? Fenty says, any funny names in the cot? S3 Lean says, at Cloudsword no, I logged in a few hours ago and suddenly my connection is awful and it just kicked me out of the game. Soup Pimp says. Pancake00 Nips says, HM. Tom Bombadillo says, you don't look kicked out. Davine Health says, anyone who can tell me what the difference between the time complexity of pushing onto a complete binary tree and a normal binary tree is will get 100 gold sent to them. Cloudsword says, at S3 Lean MMM checker ping, turn on FPS show in settings. Quality Wood 501 says, paid same on PC if you have DLC so. Colfax 4 says, im Colfax 4 BCI inject Fent. T. Orbeck says, hey, I'm trans. Sir Pediady 69 says, I Nate Higgers. Plug says, bleep. Super Joe says, what level are you? Colfax 4 says, trans BTW. Oops, I Schmieft says, Alp 5 francs gets you good loot. Retro Gecko says, Diddy were you on beta? T. Orbeck says, hey me too, I'm trans BTW. Plug says, trans BTW. SGT Squirt says, typical Xbox player. Uragu says, I trans. Spear says, Spear BTW. Audrey Pup says, trans BTW. Audrey Pup says, trans BTW. Cloud's word says, at S3 let me know if you don't know where to turn on show ping in settings. Colfax 4 says, trans BTW. Ignatium says, trains BTW. T. Orbeck says, bleep you be nice to the Whittle console bois. Scourge says, L1N click left stick. Meeb says, spear is goated. Colfax 4 says, trans rise up. Fuds says, anyone wanna do a lil WT tonight? Toffer says, I identify as an Azit staff. Lituhawk says, looking to join. Fuds says, Sfuds. Oops, I Schmieft says, trans join syndicate. Loading. Please wait. Select character screen. Press square to select Ranger King. Create character. Would you like to proceed with creating a new character? Press circle for no, press square for yes. Create character. Would you like to proceed with creating a new character? Press circle for no, press square for yes. Loading. Please wait. Intro cushion. Hold cross to skip. Character appearance. Press square to continue. Press circle to go back. Character appearance. Press square to continue. Press circle to go back. Character name. Please type a character name. Press circle to go back. Press square to continue with your character named Ranger King. Press circle to go back. Entering Samaria in crossplay. Press square to create character. Press circle to go back. Entering Valhalla in crossplay. Press square to create character. Press circle to go back. Loading. Please wait. Loading. Please wait. Skip tutorial. The tutorial does not provide narration assistance. Would you like to skip tutorial? Press circle for no, press square for yes.
Feel your blessings surge within me. Everlasting glory will be ours. Ah, pathetic.
Loading. Please wait. For text chat with other players, press the left button to open chat. Type message then press square to send chat. For proximity voice chat with other players, press and hold the left button while speaking. Simon Vi says, I don't mind it, they will fix the HUD problem in time. Dream10SJ says, X-Hive. Dragavire says, X-Hive ranged DPS. Alex says, X-Hive. Militant Rav says, X-Hive. Tech9 says, X-Hive RDPS. Alex says, X-Hive DPS. Shane Shu Pao says, balls are in a coma. Glitch Matrix says, is free for all PvP or Gorup PvP. Frey Haldor says, X-Hive. Neri J says, X-Hive. Glitch Matrix says, I keep getting jumped by Gruopsal Mao. Ryas ZZ says, X. Shane Shu Pao says, got hungry.
Like new.
Lil B33 Phi says, X-Hive DPS.
And it won't be
Tisk says, this is new, WTF.
No one gets
Bonza is ready says, you suck, stop playing. Please Athulris says, you can jump a lot higher now, doesn't feel like I'm running in sand. Tisk says, I thought this was new game. Hendrippy Jr. says, FFA is literally anyone that enters can fight anyone else.
Corrupted.
Glitch Matrix says, there is a group of 5 killing me every time I go in lol. Tisk says, do I have to start over? Alex says, X-Hive DPS.
Yes.
Evil Seth says, WTB Orichalcum Fire Staff Charm Cheap, whisper me.
Here.
Vef Jezo says, I think we all saw that coming.
Join me and Erda at our camp.
Roguelike says, at Glitch Matrix skill issue. Evil Seth says, WTB Orichalcum Fire Staff Charm Cheap, whisper me. Glitch Matrix says, foul. Sizda Boy says, 3. Sizda Boy says, hot. Thillian says, heals and DPS duo LF Hive. Tech9 says, X-Hive RDPS. Frey Haldor says, X-Hive. Alex says, X-Hive DPS. Frisley says, selling 5k any part of data equals, 0, pattern, armoring clothing, /A. Androsis says, LF1 DPS first boss Gorgon HML. The Marauders faction has thrown Restless Shore into a conflict state. They can now declare war. Genjiro says, X-Hive Fire Staff DPS. Squeaky L Toy says, where is the PvP aisle? True. Mrs. Olaf says, they brought back the Cutlass settlement. Mrs. Olaf says, NVM. Rumor says, X-Healer Hive. Argentavius says, LFG Hive DPS VG /Musket. Wicked CQ says, Wicked CQ dances. Call Me Daddy 420 says, invite to Hive. Wicked CQ says, Wicked CQ gives the thumbs up. Wicked CQ says, Wicked CQ waves. Hendrippy Jr. says, I just had a guy sit on the edge of the FFA line and wait for me to start mining to jump me. Coward. Wicked CQ says, Wicked CQ dances. Evil Seth says, WTB Orichalcum Fire Staff Charm Cheap, whisper me. Bonza is ready says, you bleep suck, stop playing. Evil Seth says, WTB Orichalcum Fire Staff Charm Cheap, whisper me. Takatki says, any Hive group building up? Argentavius says, yeah. Lucinda Larica says, where's the FFA BTW? Noble Duelist says, Neen 1 healer for Hive on second boss. Muwu says, LF healer for Gorgon in now. Frey Haldor says, X-Hive DPS FS/IG. Deadly Spider says, Deadly Spider gives the thumbs up. Rhodesimus says, so is the new PvP zone out? 0 pence Batoni says, tank LF Hive. Moo Woo says, LF healer for Gorgon in now. Alex says, X Hive DPS. Low 1v9 says, LF all for Gorgon X. E Hadouken Hose says, oof.
Well enough.
Moo Woo says, LF healer for Gorgon in now. Hey 69 says, hey. Hendrippy Jr. says, if they are going to have this FFA area then they need to add a notoriety system where so many kills gives you a reputation on mainland that allows you to be attacked freely across the map.
But no.
Frey Haldor says, ex-Gorgon.
They fool themselves.
Andrioff says, what it's this?
Safe on Aeternum.
Prahoak says, ex-Gorgon.
Pain and suffering.
Alex says, ex-Hive DPS. Argentavius says, LF2 tanks, 2 healers. Hive RN.
Yes.
Doubting Zero Na says, WTB chef shirt.
You won't have to go far to find them.
Hendrippy Jr. says, the FFA zone is SW Cutlass. W1 says, need healer for Hive of Gorgons. Hellhound Actual says, I love that the textures are broken as bleep for me now 15/10 update. Low 1v9 says, LF DPS and healer for Hive say X. Frey Haldor says, X. Billion says, X. Rukia72 says, quest stuck at Francie. Hunter 106 says, X have X. Penpin says, LFG Zygaramaze Grove. Have orb. W1 says, need healer for Hive. Mundingor07 says, X. Ryas ZZ says, X. Brengle says, X DPS Hive. Sajitachi says, X Hive DPS. Hunter 106 says, X Healer. Lil B33 Phi says, X Hive DPS. W1 says, X Healer for invite. Tawny Kaiden says, has anybody beaten Echidna yet? Call me Daddy 420 says, X Hive DPS. Hercule says, LFM the depths GF room is up. Argentavius says, LF 2 tanks and 1 healer. Hive RN. Lil B33 Phi says, X Hive DPS. Hellhound Actual says, holy bleep this rendering time. Papa Bear 1 says, is it just me or are the graphics downgraded from what they used to be? Alex says, X Hive. Grand Knight Spike says, Grand Knight Spike has reached font color equals, ed63e, level 3/font. Lucinda Larica says, oh hecka orichalcum. Morse Tangier says, X Hive DPS. Bauer Gaming says, people still crying about New World, read the patch notes before you download 70 GB. Game looks beautiful to me. Baja Blasta says, why is my text so big? The Soup du Jour says, X Hive DPS. Takatki says, I like this space jump. Hellhound Actual says, bro I been in this game since day 1. Argentavius says, LF2 tanks. Hive RN. Xanax 2 mg says, blast beats. Chiken Sauce says, wow, respecking is slow AF now that they changed the UI. This is so unpleasant. Courtree says, lies. Hellhound Actual says, why this bleep is rendering so slowly. Papa Bear 1 says, it's WoW quality lol, it used to be amazing graphics lol. Evil Seth says, X Hive DPS 698 GS. Richter says, did we receive anything for the billion arrows / ammo we may have had? N0PE says, nope. W1LDS says, need healer of Hive. Duncan Idaho Jr. says, free bag space. Low 1v9 says, LF3 ranged DPS 4 Hive. W1LDS says, X healer for invite. Plowmetrius says, is game better? Z Pony says, just the tip okay. Hellspus says, LFG Hive DPS range. The Soup du Jour says, yeah. Hellhound Actual says, wait, ammo isn't a thing anymore. Lucinda Larica says, Jesus WTF requarter. Eastwood Gun says, anyone need to run depths normal real quick? Alex says, X Hive. China Q says, X Hive. The Soup du Jour says, X Hive. W1LDS says, LF healer for Hive. W1LDS says, X up. Missy says, LF1M tank Hive first boss. Mephisto says, is there an option to show your own nameplate? Argentavius says, LF tanks Hive, need to, DM for inv. Hendrippy Jr. says, imagine almost getting rolled 1v1 by a guy in all PvE gear. Y'all sympathetics. Solomon says, what do we do with cursed coins? Noob Dude says, anyone for Tabijet? Civics says, so they didn't consider UW monitors and the new UI or what? Barry Horror says, 700 healer LF Hive. The Soup du Jour says, X Hive. Dark Knight says, X Hive DPS.
Successful hunt?
Hendrippy Jr. says, when you exit the cursed zone, the items cleanse.
If there is any left
Kahoak says, X Hive DPS.
let it go to waste, you know.
Stinky P says, UW monitors are trash.
If there's any
Rias ZZ says, X Hive. Serial Code says, X Hive DPS.
He's teasing me. Of
Flipsy
course.
says, take the cursed out of PvP and they aren't cursed.
Cover my strength before Vader
Low 1v9 says, LF1 DPS 4 Hive, Link Gear.
declaring rebirth. Their souls.
Courtree says, if we all complain about not being able to resize the UI, I'm sure they'll fix it.
I thought you knew.
Civics says, you sound poor.
Ship is just across the water.
Orios Air Gross says, anyone know how to move the mana bar down W the stam and health?
Your former crew
Can't
waits to
figure it
rest.
out.
Keep your weapon at the ready.
Missy says, LF1M tank Hive first boss. Explosive says, how to enter OPR again? N0PE says, nope. Techno Kitty says, gems are no longer cut in the stone cutter. Boodown says, not at all Civith. Classes says, hi, any dungeon I can make with a 625 GS. Techno Kitty says, they are cut in the outfitting station. Rollfall says, isn't there a way to add ore, animals, etc. to compass at top? Argentavius says, LF2 tanks. Hive fresh. Please. TH3 Third and 3 says, need people to kill the scarab. Shane Shu Pao says, crack fiends. Low 1v9 says, LF1 ranged DPS for Hive. Shane Shu Pao says, Fenr. TH3 Third and 3 says, for the new flail objective. Flacia Penetranti says, X Hive ranged DPS. Cell Life says, why does jumping feel so floaty? Duke Abigor says, X DPS Hive. Asisk says, I need inv to any raid farming for gear lolts. TH333 says, X Kepri. Magni says, X DPS Hive. C Rayon Crime says, X Gen. King Hehe says, I think I'm missing some artifacts, WTF that about. Dugdlemadome says, you have to level the skills in order to have them show on the compass at rollfall. Orios Air Gross says, at TH333 you mean Kepri? Explosive says, how to enter OPR? Did they remove this game feature? Apath says, New World is revived. Big Bang says, it's in Activities tab. Andrioff says, Pork la letra es tan grand. Andrioff says, Tango talk. Andrioff says, Meanwero. Kratus 141 says, X tank hive. E Pineapples says, a data equals 0, mystic doubloon, / a what is this for? Bloody says, this new chat is bleep man. Hey 69 says, hey. Ayah says, jumping looks stupid. Muffin Stomper says, is there a new PvP thing? If so, where? Bushy says, OPR been popping fast. Ayah says, I know. The evil god says, jumping is faster than running. Classes says, anyone running normal dungeons? Lucinda Larica says, I'm guessing level 61-65 is DLC locked? Kingslayer 422 says, Kingslayer 422 flexes. Duke Abigor says, X-Hive range DPS. Orios Air Gross says, at Penpin should be able to do it via the activities. Missy says, LF1M tank hive first boss. Girl in Red Lol says, GSGS. Hellhound Actual says, welcome to New World BTW to anyone WHO is actually new. Darth Zaetis says, I am on PC, do I need to buy the DLC too? Big Bench says, is the Gorgon Hive raid not in the map and only in Activities tab? Low 1v9 says, LF2 ranged DPS 4 Hive, link gear. The Wawicker says, Kilua bug. Penpin says, not Zygara Maze Grove, or really any other trial for artifact quests. Bot 4456 says, R. TH333 says, need people for a Capri kill. Pocket Jacks says, WTS full 700 GS gathering / refining sets PM for a price of each 5 pi set / bulk glyphs / bulk infused fragments / bulk craft mod / ant dice. Who with what you need. Duke Abigor says, X range DPS hive. Arngius says, has reading everything in chat. Keeve says, where do I get pumpkin head?
I knew our friend here.
Lightspeed says, Steam authentication error. Molasses says, yo.
Our lives.
Mitramarius says, that's my corn.
This new.
The soup du jour says, from Poget.
And as you can see, it is
The soup du jour says, I mean Pogi.
Must you be
Raw Zero Den says, from your GF I would hope.
our new friend here?
Sir Ashley Ray says, at the pumpkin store. Jason's Legacy says, us Steam players need to set an example lol Jesus.
May still be others
Molasses says, this a good server or am I cooked? I-57 says, I-57, Kep-Helio-Trid-Isle. Godslayer 420 says, where can a level 65 get better get in this DLC?
covers them all by Why's the day's end?
Penpin says, Zybera Maze Grove anyone? Have orb. Eistenser says, X-Hive DPS.
You can search for survivors.
Danet says, XWT.
Greater risk. But
Hunter 106 says, a data equals 0, power stone, / a YAYI got IT. 4 says, FL Hive Healer. Argentavius says, LF 1 tank and 1 DPS. Hive Fresh. Poggers Loot says, X range DPS. 4 says, LFG Hive Healer. Hellhound Actual says, bruh why is Windsword downgraded so much? Ninja Kami says, LF range DPS and tank hive. Money Ibaba 654 says, LFG hive DPS. Argentavius says, LF one more tank please hive fresh. I-57 says, Kep last call. Victrian says, XDPS. Victrian says, XDPS hive. Low 1v9 says, LF 1 tank and 1 DPS for hive. Milkai God says, XCap. Crow Servo says, XDPS hive. Ninja Kami says, LF range DPS and tank hive. Dusty A says, Gorgon's Eye, selling 125k. Alman Rotter says, first time logging back in since not playing for months, is there a way to unbleep this awful movement? Victrian says, X-Hive DPS. Skastavian Eggle says, Skastavian Eggle sits. Pocket Jacks says, I asked to buy it. Asuna Sao Yuki says, looking to raid. Jason's Legacy says, every time I Jumo I swear I'm playing Mario on Shrimsel Mao. Ninja Kami says, LF range DPS and tank hive. Asuna Sao Yuki says, can DPS just send invit? Argentavius says, LF tank hive, fresh. Anvil says, XDPS hive. Ninja Kami says, LF range DPS and tank hive. I-57 says, I-57, Helio-Trip-Isle.
I am weak.
Moxus Spelldance says, so did war meta change with grid stuff? Rub on Rub says, X-Hive. Narflog says, I don't think this game can handle the widescreen. Bradhurt says, yeah they did not test this. I-57 says, Helio last call. Bradhurt says, I don't understand why AGS does this. Morse Tangier says, XDPS hive. Kingslayer 422 says, Kingslayer 422 flexes. Ninja Kami says, LF3 DPS 1 tank hive. Diabolical says, Fleet that's why. Sonia Amalia says, X-Hive DPS.
You have my thanks.
Arcanai I says, XDPS hive. Lord Titus 3 says, if this fresh wipe. Soji Ajas says, need DPS for Starstone Barrows. Jason's Legacy says, they need to accommodate for console, but there should be a PC option for sure. Low 1v9 says, LF 1 DPS and 1 tank for hive. Bob Roos says, X-Hive.
Can't tell you what a relief it was. seeing
Bradhurt
five
says,
beginning
and
to
DX12 looks like crap.
I was betting. I'm not about to.
Narflog says, is this the new game or legacy server?
One thing I learned. You have to
TH3 Third and 3 says, X for Helio.
And there's bougie.
Soji Ajas says, LF DPS for Barrows.
On board. Of course.
Jason's Legacy says, new for consoles yes.
I'll be needing a new ship, a new crew.
Rub on Rub says, X-Gen.
In
Arcanai says, X DPS Hive.
I'll split the loot 70-30.
Smoky Oaks says,
Or
no.
what the hell, 60-40 even.
Lord Titus 3 says, is this fresh wife server? Smoky Oaks says, wife needs me.
I need to circle back to my own ship.
Dusty
Grab
A
what I
says,
can.
Gorgon's Eye,
there's a
selling
wreck over there,
150k.
My first mate.
Raven Ward says, no, this is a legacy server. Jason's Legacy says, I am not blaming console at all TF. Soji Ajas says, LF DPS Barrows. Mrs. Goose says, ex-healer and tank looking for Hive Run. I says, I haven't fought a solo player in FFA Isle in the last hour. Ninja Kami says, LF3 DPS 1 tank Hive first boss. Takatki says, need 1 DPS 1 tank to start Hive. 3 point soft contact says, X DPS Hive. Bloody says, anyone need to do Power Stone artifact quests. Cho says, LF2N Firestaff DPS first boss. Narflog says, thought I saw a console dude on earlier. Orthas says, X Tank Hive. Mpong99 says, X Hive. Cho says, LF2 meter Firestaff DPS Hive first boss KWTD. Friar Kuka says, we on. Hugo Slong says, LF heal Hive first boss. Ninja Kami says, LF tank Hive first boss. Sis Stonekeeper says, how do I resize the interface? All this stuff is huge. Core Tree says, you can't. Core Tree says, only Chad can resize. Muffin Stomper says, did they remove ammo? Dusty A says, Gorgon's Eye, selling 150k. Penpin says, need 3 more for Zygara Maze Grove, have orb. Glitch Matrix says, what's wrong with UI? Portree says, complain on forums about UI, let's get them so we can customize our UI. Argentavia says, X-Hive DPS VG/Muscatinv. John 1 says, I miss the real New World. Sigita says, a data equals 0, Gorgon's Eye, /a WTS 200k. Hugo Slong says, LF heal Hive first boss. Big Bang says, good. No scope needed says, Amu. Ramita says, hola. Skastavian Eggle says, Skastavian Eggle sits. Gumi says, LF heal X Hive GTG. Demonking 69 says, Amrine excavation need 2. Dusty A says, Gorgon's Eye, selling 150k. Argentavia says, X Hive DPS, inv. Skastavian Eggle says, Skastavian Eggle sits. John 1 says, Deadly Spider says, Deadly Spider gives the thumbs up. No scope needed says, at Joey am here. Skastavian Eggle says, Skastavian Eggle sits. Androsis says, need heals first boss Gorgon. Wicked CQ says, Wicked CQ dances. Wicked CQ says, Wicked CQ gives the thumbs up. Wicked CQ says, Wicked CQ waves. Wicked CQ says, Wicked CQ dances.
There you are.
No scope needed says, PM me please.
More importantly though, what did you find?
Skastavian Eggle says, Skastavian Eggle sits.
Oh yes. These are definitely
J-Max says, hey.
Unfortunately, I didn't
Stud
have a
Stumbles says, LFG Amrine excavation.
I worry it's bad luck.
Soji Ajas says, LF DPS Barrows.
Now there's a good mate.
Asisk says, X DPS Hive.
No complaints, though.
X-Gonks says, Hola.
Tell you what, if you can
Jet
get
says,
stuff,
X-Hive
then we
Fire
get a
Staff.
greater share of our profits. 40
And Roses
most of our
says,
cargo
need a
was
healer
lost at
Hive
sea. I got my
HML.
captain's log on the way out.
Rhodesimus says, anyone else's map bugged and can't see zones borders/colors.
Get those.
Grand Knight
Then
Spike
maybe-
says, Grand Knight Spike has reached font color equals, at 63E, level 5/font. Hendrippy Jr. says, Umau just sitting outside FFA cursing out PPL in Spanish. This makes the game so much better. Menelaus says, nope. Argentavius says, X-Hive DPS, inv. Penpin says, Zygaramaze gross, need 3 more. Takatki says, DPS Hive available. Flacia Penetranti says, X-Hive DPS. Androsis says, need a healer Hive first boss. Bustinho says, no bleach better. Shiaween says, GG. Ventus Giga says, no. Dominicroa says, X-Hive DPS. Navru says, asterisk sad hunter X hunter noises asterisk. Booty U says, need tank and DPS Hive shit. Echo Stone says, getting pissy after 4 Hive runs and leaving the raid is noob AFXD, these people are lame. Asisk says, so people are just teaming up in a FA zone? Asuna Sao Yuki says, DPS looking for a raid. Awakened GH0ST says, when you say map problems do you mean the compass being broken on where you need to go? Nasty says, shove your move boy. Monkey D. Rilo says, Hunter's Hunter is coming back though, just without Gon and Killua. Dusty A says, a data equals, 0, Gorgon's Eye, / a WTS 150k. Asisk says, just died to a team that sucks.
Something great.
Navru says, when? Deadly Spider says, Deadly Spider gives the thumbs up. Virhelm says, why is the same MSQ copy / pasted in multiple zones? Dom Hassan says, WTF did they do to the UI? Soji Ajas says, LF DPS barrows. Munchkin Doom says, I so forgot omg. Flyin' Ham says, X-Hive DPS. Menelaus says, I love how slight UI changes causes so many people to freak out. Navru says, slight.
Despite her personal
Menelaus says, like are you 90 years old?
I scouted the
Spastavian Eggle says, Spastavian Eggle sits.
I saw many
Dominicroa says, X-Hive DPS. Aldine Mavani says, there's 2 starting areas, that's why multiple MSQ, they are slightly different if you want the XP. Bradhurt says, it's not slide if you have a widescreen.
It's a shame.
Dom Hassan says,
Companion refuses to join us.
Jet says, X-Hive DPS.
Poor girls just survived.
Asisk says, X-Hive DPS.
Wasting her breath. But
Do IT Scared says, Alp 4 francs.
Do not take long, my friend.
W1LDS says, need ranged DPS for Hive. CV Ready LC says, X-Hive DPS. Raven Ward says, I just wish my quests didn't take up like 20% of my screen. It's odd they won't let you resize it. Zubs says, LF1M DPS Hive. I'm just doing 1T says, X-Hive DPS. 0 Pence Batoni says, Tank LF Hive. Menelaus says, Bleep AGS did something without my approval and I don't like it much, those bleep. Morse Tangier says, X-Hive Firestaff DPS. Alex says, X-Hive. Jason's Legacy says, let's just bleep enjoy the damn game. Diabolical says, pro tip OPR, Q has a healer with magnify and bleep life staff for instant Q then switch after. Navru says, Betzer 12 Washenbeard says, can't please everyone. Flyin' Ham says, X-Hive DPS. Dom Hassan says, I've enjoyed the game for 3 years, but this UI on widescreen is really bad. Navru says, exactly. Munchkin Doom says, goated. Jet says, X-Hive DPS. Boodown says, it is bad. In Just Doing 1T says, X-Hive DPS. Asisk says, X-Hive DPS. Navru says, calling people, babies, for having an opinion is just silly. John 1 says, this is a downgrade. Tanksil says, X-High DPS. Wambarugby says, where the hell do I cut gems now? John 6969 Stir says, damn haven't been back in ages, nice didn't have to buy the DLC for access, since I owned base game and DLC already, played since day 1 and alpha/beta etc. Y3 Urdua says, outfitting. Menelaus says, well, AGS never consulted with me on placement of spirit shrines and some of their placement really bothers me. If I complain enough cause it affects my playtime they should do what I want. Jason's Legacy says, how many copies on PS5 and Xbox has sold within the first day or two it has been released? Aldine Mavani says, then you're dumb. Smoke Gold says, at CK. Flacia Penetranti says, X-Hive DPS. John 1 says, WTF did we gain from this downgrade? Danny Reevely says, hello. Powder Donut says, TF is up with weapon switching. Menelaus says, I love the update, it's bleep. Dead Off Dread says, X-Hive DPS. Circahina A says, X-Hive DPS. Domini Croa says, X-Hive DPS. Grand Knight Spike says, Grand Knight Spike has reached font color equals, ED63E, level 6/font. Duke Abigor says, X-Hive range DPS experienced. Jason's Legacy says, players on PC were the experiment. G-Rock says, all my quests just disappeared off the side my screen, how do I bring them back? Alex says, X-Hive DPS. Navru says, well we had to download the update. C. Rayon Crime says, X-Gen. Mrs. Olaf says, at least Cutlass is useful again XD.
I don't need a Medal of Valor.
Coggers Luke says, LFM healers and tank hive.
I'll head there and sell
Navru says, and they added new content, so technically speaking.
I'll be saving up.
Aldine Mavani says, probably because it's a free update on PC.
And I don't believe a word of it.
Ekbalo says, is there a new expedition?
She couldn't navigate.
Booty U says, healer looking for hive.
Come with me, if you like.
Domini Croa says, X-Hive DPS. Bell Junkie says, wow don't call it that. Cyanuk says, a data equals 0, flat bow of the ranger, /A.
I'll be there.
Flacia Penetranti says, X-Hive DPS. Wambarugby says, Fire Staff DPS LFG Hive. Abipa says, people complaining need to chill. Menelaus says, Cutlass update is awesome, tons of endgame PvE content, the entire SE of the zone is a massive elite stronghold plus a 10-man raid, plus the existing raid trials got upgraded, plus PvP island. Menelaus says, bleep is awesome so far. Menelaus says, bleep is awesome so far. Kai says, you look cool. TG0D24 says, K3S bombs. Flacia Penetranti says, X-Hive DPS.
Try, at least. Your
Flying
friend,
Ham says, X-Hive DPS.
perhaps she is like Urta. Smart.
Howie says, is this a fresh start server?
We must be smart too.
Jason's Legacy says, they will deal with this bleep later, the update just came out today.
Right. I've never seen
Rocky New York says, where exactly is the new Cutlass Key City to turn in doubloons and craft?
I am.
Jason's Legacy says, we will win.
Not bear it.
Dusty A says, a data equals 0, Gorgon's Eye, / a WTS 150k.
Must go back to the camp.
Man with Skittles says, X-Hive DPS.
But I also can't.
King Hehe says, my friend said coming back to this server is stupid cause all you bleep have too much money and we can't compete, so I should not even play my LVL 65 and go on a fresh start server.
Destroy it and get the hell out.
King Hehe says, is that true?
Godspeed.
John 6969 Stir says, I am looking forward more to the LODR update. They ditching this game, since they are AGS main team and going over to LODR MMO development.
Witness the power manifest.
Duke Abigor says, X-Range DPS Hive. Squeaky L Toy says, Knacking, I think you could do well here. John 6969 Stir says, ooh wait, need to change my name, not know as this name anymore. Zyko Ackerman says, what up PPL? Do we have the new update on this server? Jason's Legacy says, yeah, update is great. John 6969 Stir says, update isn't server specific lol. Shaltier says, X-Hive. King Hehe says, he said the players on this server have millions of gold and we can't buy good items cause we are priced out. He said people only warlog here. Should I reroll on a new server? Liddy says, hi. Liddy says, yay. Lily says, you. Lily says, how's the new raid? Clearest Liver says, I have not been on this game in a long time. With this new update, is it better to just start over? Zero Pence Batoni says, Tank LF Hive. Jason's Legacy says, yeah, but that's being handled closely. John 6969 Stir says, yeah, honestly graphics look bleep. I rather go back to Throne and Liberty. Clearly says, did they downgrade the graphics? Opioda says, why is the UI so big? Navru says, Throne and Liberty page 2W. Alexanderovich says, where can I go loot for a company / guild if I want to join? Jimothy says, any schematic crafters yet? Dead Off Dread says, X-Hive DPS. Morse Tangier says, UI settings need to get played with, but you can get back to what we had. Opioda says, I couldn't find it. It's to be says, X-Hive Firestaff DPS.
You steal that which is
Evil
mine.
Set says, downgrade.
My followers.
For me looks better now lol.
Disrupt my plans.
Bob Roos says, X-Hive. Clearly says, I don't like only seeing 3 things on chat at once. Flyin' Ham says, X-Hive. Man with Skittles says, X-Hive DPS / tank. Mint Boy says, a data equals 0, schematic, Winsinger, / a do these still sell? Odosu says, a data equals 0, shitwrecker, / a what the bleep is this piece of bleep?
Tales of such things.
Nivea says, X-Hive -DPS -FSGS 700.
A short time
John 1:1 says, this could just be a trick for trick or treat though. Menelaus says, bleep is awesome so far. John 6969 Stir says, meanie you don't need to copy paste that and spam it all the time.
In the past?
Jason's Legacy says, my 3 houses in my area here is a flood-free zone.
It is unlikely you would be here.
Uffa says, lol.
Make no mistake.
Menelaus says, dude y'all are spamming stupid bleep, why can't one?
There have been some misunderstandings.
Nivea says, in Hive-DPS range-FSGS 700. Menelaus says, dude y'all are spamming stupid bleep, why can't one?
Follows the road to town.
Zyko Ackerman says, X. Dank God says, can I change UI? Morse Tangier says, X Hive Firestaff DPS. Shaltier says, X Hive. John 6969 Stir says, reported for spam. Ninja Kami says, doubt it. Clearly says, where's Aloy? Nivea says, X Hive DPS. Tawny Kaiden says, gladly. Mephisto says, tie. Bob Roos says, X Hive. Zyko Ackerman says, X. Ninja Kami says, LF Healer Hive first boss. Arihara says, X Healer Hive. Sith Roguin says, anyone want to do Kefri? I have a secret. White Box WB says, X Hive DPS. CV Ready LC says, X Hive DPS. Bob Roos says, X. I'm just doing 1T says, X Hive DPS. Low 1v9 says, LF1 tank first boss link gear. Storm Eye says, X Hive healer / DPS. Flow. DYR says, so is it Roth to make a new character on Aeternum? Flyin' Ham says, X Hive DPS. Takatki says, looking for DPS heal and tank to start Hive. ILEXMG says, X Hive DPS. Dead Off Dread says, X Hive DPS. Savage Throne says, can I change my UI? Vegas 1v9 says, Hive September 10th -1 tank 700. Eistenser says, X Hive DPS. Laka says, LF heals Hive. I'm just doing 1T says, X Hive dose. Surly Shirley says, X Hive DPS finisher plus VG. Morse Tangier says, Savage -- escape then look for settings. I shrunk me text size Wadawi down. ILEXMG says, X Hive DPS. Velter23 says, does anyone know how to get rid pin from tapping down on D-pad? Johnny Rod says, X Hive DPS. Dusty A says, tips for Hive, don't do it with random groups. You will need to get into comms to finish it.
This island has
Bob Roos says, X Hive.
paradise.
Shying says, what's the level cap? Mitra Marias says, the new NPC dialogue GUI is garbage.
Did not come here seek
Mr. Basket says, is there a way to make the quest tracker on the right hand side smaller?
after a life of weakness.
Alex says, X Hive DPS.
I found a truth that
Flow.
is brewed.
DYR says, is the new standard worlds worth it?
I tasted the
Sir Dipshite says, yeah, the new UI might drive me away.
I saw the vision of
Surly Shirley says, X Hive DPS.
I knew then
M says, hi.
I must correct this
4 says, LFG Hive healer.
restore the power which is
ILEXMG says, X Hive DPS.
the heart.
Tazilla says, wait, when did they add a swimming animation?
After a
Ricandithus says, this patch.
Our campaign has begun.
Laka says, LF Tank Hive.
Townships already fought.
Tazilla says, LOL. Slinky Dog says, PC Xbox. Archlord Rinks says, Healer LF Trial / Expedition.
Meant for me.
John 6969 Stir says, yeah I'm out, the graphics look awful since I remember playing it, I can't stand it. Back to Throne, later.
True freedom to the world.
Bob Roos says, Axe. Takatki says, looking for DPS heal and tank hive. Protoletum says, X heal hive. Menelaus says, graphics are great. Sizda Boy says, didn't ask at John. Onathan 9129 says, X hive. Bob Roos says, X DPS. Protoletum says, X hive heals. John 6969 Stir says, nah it's shit, not worth it, go play 2 francs P Throne and Liberty. Sizda Boy says, don't care. Kerma says, is Oper broken? Sizda Boy says, bye now. Ricandithus says, T&L is too Asian / anime for me. John 11 says, I feel like I'm at the New World funeral. Slockenberg says, Throne and Liberty is way more bleep. Opioda says, even with changing font size it still only shows 4 comments lol. Savage Throne says, how? Mrs. Goose says, looking to join Hive group. 1 healer 1 DPS. Kazor says, can't trust free moss. Hammy Deacon says, why is the chat window so jank? Surly Shirley says, R. Akimbani says, TNL is a Hughie scam. Akimbani says, not worth it. William McRae says, bleep the faces to shows from Intron and Liberty don't even show as faces. They display as pixelated trash. Rage Off Zoosty TV says, how do you fish?
Did you see my car?
King Hehe says, NYC is kind of a dumpster.
But the road.
Gregorio says, no it's not.
Never seen anything.
Echo Stone says, facts.
Vicious balls.
Echo Stone says, huge dump. Ursi says, is Keen Vicious still the meta for DPS? Tawny Kaiden says, X Mono DPS. Sloppy Toppy says, hi.
Do I look like some
In Just Doing 1T says, X Hive DPS.
I'm just a simple traveling
Sis Stonekeeper says, I have looked, not bitching, but if someone knows how to change the interface size to smaller PLZ tell me. William McRae says, salvage if you want to craft, which you do.
and bring them to the
Jet says, X Hive DPS.
Oh, gather
Inzuua says, X Hive DPS.
They'll fetch a gold or two.
Compologist says, were arrows and bullets removed from the game? Slockenberg says, yes. Grim Oakenshield says, anyone need a DPS? Kamamdara says, finally watching season 3 of Slime. Morse Tangier says, escape, circle in upper right, then look to text size reduction for 1. Bustinho says, haha. Sestrin WN says, is gemsuiting not done at the stone cutting table anymore or am I just blind? Zaki says, so far Throne is better, but I'll give this game a chance. Ajax72 says, hi. Flo, DYR says, is it worth going to Aeternum? TH333 says, hosting Mono X for invite. Dusty says, a data equals 0, Gorgon's Eye, / a WTS 150k. Gregory 10GTTTV says, hey. Knus but 3000 says, need more for Hive midway through. Jet says, XDPS. M says, something is wrong with the pond. Lenaden says, X mono. Morse Tangier says, X Hive DPS fire staff. Jet says, X Hive DPS. 2B3R says, X mono. Flo, DYR says, can someone help me? Bustinho says, Ruffle. Slockenberg says, wasn't a try, I did actually say it. Hogun the Grim says, how many new people are here? Navru says, why did you choose Xbox for this if you don't mind me asking? Opioda says, why did they change so much stuff? Urim the Broker says, Salu Lombax Jesu is a Lavelle. Crom23 says, loyal. Zaki says, I'll also body you on Xbox bot. Crom23 says, that was nuts lol. Slockenberg says, the only body you have is a big one fat boy. Sir Cocker says, Xbox bleep. Opioda says, WTH is this? Chaotic says, sorry for the late, thank you, for your answers. Mex Fomtex says, LFG Hive. Wicked CQ says, Wicked CQ dances. Xanax 2 mg says, game looks better with FSR off. Crow Parazu says, X Hive DPS. Millie Loves You says, the truth lies in love, one must love as Millie loves you to find the truth. Wafflicious says, X Hive DPS. Squeaky L Toy says, hello friends. 2B3R says, X Hive Tank. Papa Sausage says, a Millie, Lil Wayne. Chaotic says, this really gives me RuneScape feels. Danny Rivoli says, -4 Savage. I Dylan I says, L1 and R3 hold. Onathan 9129 says, X Hive. TG0D24 says, sorry I thought so. Ralpha says, they've done it, they actually fixed the OPR scoreboard lmao. Danny Rivoli says, -4 Savage Divide. I Dylan I says, hold L1 and L3. Hogun the Grim says, what the heck I have to reset all my weapon skills? Flo, DYR says, is it worth resetting character for New World Aeternum? Big Goth Titties says, Goth Mommy is here and I got big tits. Gregorio says, now do I have to buy an expansion to access mounts? Brudamith says, game seems overall a lot more balanced this update, glad I came back. Danny Rivoli says, -4 Savage Divide. Millie Loves You says, who needs big gits when you got a big heart? Yugito says, only if they got bleep too. Hogun the Grim says, we jump higher. Max Web 7 says, Ramon Put. Prog Farming says, GGZ. Coyote Crim says, is there a company storage or just bank? I-57 says, I-57, I'll.
Welcome to Pridewend, traveler.
Who5 says, X Hive.
Well,
Ra Amawadi says, XWT.
but that will change.
Papa Sausage says, I am not buying an expansion just to ride a mount. Gonna be strutting this bleep a while longer.
Something even worse.
Manuelita Sands says, what's the point of mutated dungeons now? I Dylan I says, anytime.
It's true then. God.
Arngius says, time to quit this game for good.
Such foul tidings.
Danny Rivoli says, -4 Savage Divide.
corrupted too.
Gregory 10GTTTV says, why?
That it's all happening on the eve of the most fortuitous
Jumping Lily
occasion
says,
right
X
when
Amrine need
all
healer or
other
tank
ideas.
PLZ. Mr. Mother Goose 50 says, X Ghost Bishop.
Nothing less thrilling.
Hogan the Grim says, did mine Glithcore does everyone have to reset weapon skills? Nichetsu says, anyone Esla stuck trying to finish the first mission? Torland says, we lost some gravity. Powder Donut says, we lines had to reset. Torland says, if you believe in gravity.
Just washed ashore is
Uberhit says, a data equals 0, Gorgon's eye / a WTS.
from the beach that
Danny Rivoli says, -4 Savage Divide.
take a word for anything, as you might imagine.
Shaltier says, Hive July 20th. Mac says, is there a way to teleport to a friend who spawned on another beach?
Probably someone you should.
Cool Cat 3 says, how do? Kaistro says, fun plays but I think I'm out my G. Menelaus says, such bleep. Torland says, weird. Torland says, we can p good now.
My new friend right
Zepperpool says, what's Hive?
some.
Slockenberg says, Christ the people who whine about whiners are almost more annoying lol.
And if you make a habit of
Torland says, jump. Sir Cocker says, cry. Utsukush Sora says, so are you. Millie Loves You says, the whiners ruin all games, they ruined DD2 which was phenomenal. Dylan I says, games act. Really good they just bleep bleep. Richard Gurgler says, Richard Gurgler dances. Squeaky L Toy says, but, you whine about whiners who whined about whiners, it's wineception. Flo. DYR says, is it worth restarting character for the new Aeternum worlds? Gregorio says, oh Mao. Gazy Gertie says, does anyone know what the plug with the triangle and exclamation mean on the screen? Goblina says, where are rabbits? Squeaky L Toy says, sir this is a Wendy, S. Torland says, Windies. Tate Robinson says, what's up chat? Tate Robinson says, how's everyone doing? Goblina says, rabbits where? Luscious Graves says, we. Squeaky L Toy says, think about that poor narwhal. Slockenberg says, very direct of you Tate. Potter's Loot says, LF1 Tank Hive boss fight. TAC K1SH says, A&M. Agreon says, LF2 DPS and 1 healer for Hive, we are at the second boss, Link Gear. Millie Loves You says, whiners didn't grow up in Nintendo days, when we played the games the developers intended, now they act like every demand they have better be put in a game or else. They're like Yelpers. Grand Knight Spike says, Grand Knight Spike has reached font color equals, egg63e, level 7/font.
Literally.
Tate Robinson says, chicken mostly. TH333 says, hosting mono. Squeaky L Toy says, oh man, do not get me started on Yelp. Tate Robinson says, I love Yelp. Tate Robinson says, Yelp. Slockenberg says, to be fair Nintendo was actually good at making games at one point. Sir Olim says, I was kicked again from the Hive, inv if you want. Tate Robinson says, yay. Potter's Loot says, LF1 Tank Hive. Dark Day says, any groups that actually know mechanics need a DPS for Hive. HMU. Bogo Binted says, how does this game not have a DLSS option? Torland says, the final boss are the updates, new soldiers. Moo says, need one ranged DPS for Gorgon first boss. Squeaky Altoy says, which race? The steeplechase? I hate the half marathon. Gregorio says, was thinking the same. Opioda says, what is with all these walls? Millie Loves You says, the whiners spend more time whining than enjoying life. They are addicted to wine. They need Whiners Anonymous meetings where they can all get together. Dom Hassan says, damn flat earth mommy in the house.
Here we find ourselves in a little
Squeaky Altoy says, yeah.
Is it me? Or does
Dom Hassan says, she ain't no goth mommy dough.
No doubt.
King69 says, does this game still suck? Domacheeks says, I can't add you lol. Lord Crazyman says, hello everyone. Tarumpo Alano says, hi. Liliane says, this game is written using a custom 3D rendering engine that does not use ray tracing. DLSS isn't needed. Gregory 10GTTTV says, hey. Yarb says, is there a way to change the UI or is it just like this now? Glite says, X up for Hive.
Some new boots.
Tarumpo Alano says, I wish there was.
Ah, yeah.
Asuna Sao Yuki says, DPS looking for raids.
You should check out the trade.
Millie Loves You says, whiners play Ubisoft games and love them.
Alright, see you there.
Mons3RR says, need tank second boss Hive. Chaotic says, hey, at least this isn't ESO. XD. Call Me Lucky says, need inf back to Hive, timed out Kazima bot. Sir Colby45 says, looking for stern Dami mommy. Domacheeks says, Dami mommy. Yeah says, yeah. Squeaky Altoy says, yeah. Warlord Inferno says, what's wrong with ESO? Dom Hassan says, trying to get my bleep cured. Shiriho says, yo, is this game cross-plat now? Yeah says, yeah. Odoshi says, they changed requater. TH3 says, need 1 DPS for Mono X for invite. Slockenberg says, Millie take your meds Han. Lord Kobe says, need 1 DPS Amreen. Potter's Loot says, LF1 tank Hive first boss. Torland says, yes. Chaotic says, SO feels really disorganized and the combat on here is better. Sub-Zero 789 says, XDPS Hive. Savvy Ren says, Woa Woa. Slockenberg says, that's cause ESO's combat isn't based on skill. Torland says, the jump is kind of weird now but I like it. Jordo says, why is everything so big? Torland says, lots of float. King69 says, Xanthier Undying says, need 1 DPS for Mono X for Inv. Noble Duelist says, live on Twitch at Noble Duelist TTV. 4K hour player, come hang out and vibe with us and ask any questions you have. Jordo says, is this game any better than 2 years ago? N0PE says, nope. XDRAY17 says, LF1 heal Hive second boss. Aurora Boro says, healer. Millie Loves You says, sometimes we all just gotta get together and love each other. Torland says, swimming is probably why we float jump now. Gapo Taco says, the game forced me to move to this server, but my guild is still on the other. Now to get back I have to pay $15 for server expert. WTF. SNCH3Z says, only Spanish please. Torland says, the jump is pretty awesome. Jordo says, I'm guessing all my Bisgear is trash now, huh? Torland says, I can reach the moon. Chaotic says, that's fair. I just know if you don't know what build you're going for, SO's leveling system can be confusing AF. Aurora Boro says, Healer Gorgon. Ekbalo says, you might have a free transfer token, go look. XDRAY17 says, LF1 Heal Hive second boss FM. Damacheeks says, don't transfer outta here. Damacheeks says, this the best server. Damacheeks says, since day one. TH333 says, anyone in global want to do DPS for mono? N0PE says, nope. Helen Keller says, X. Raylia says, X Hive heal. Raylia says, or DPS. Foster Bohannon says, could y'all report my name as offensive? I hate it. Damacheeks says, wait, has this game never had a map in HUD? Spuck the White says, same, need name reported. Hermaphrodite says, Hermaphrodite gives the thumbs up. Tarumpo Alano says, it's always had a compass. Hajali Da Third says, X for Hive. Shika says, how do you transfer servers please? Yarb says, that top bar is all you've had. Inzuua says, X Hive DPS. Hajali Da Third says, X for Hive. TH333 says, posting mono kill need 1 DPS. Damacheeks says, been playing WoW so I feel like I'm being edged. Dajonium says, X Hive healer. Alexandrovich says, we got any EverQuest players here? Lil Phonatic says, X Gen. Hajali Da Third says, X for Hive. Trigger X0 says, server transfers aren't readily available. Muffin Stomper says, it's the circle off. Muffin Stomper says, life. Chaotic says, I've played EQ. Yarb says, not being able to swap back the UI stuff is pretty weak honestly. Squeaky L Toy says, Kazakthuli Kid. Heinz2 says, need tank / healer / DPS help for some newbies doing Starstone, any helpers? DM for inv. Trigger X0 says, I think next season for server transfers. Caldine says, 9 years in EQ. Alexandrovich says, Luklin, just got my mage to 90 today. Damacheeks says, wait, was there always interactive dialogue? Chaotic says, I've been playing OSRS since 2002. Viking 4 Valhalla says, Viking 4 Valhalla doesn't like that. Merlin's Beard says, brah. Damacheeks says, like cushionies. Squeaky L Toy says, EQ was unforgiving. Dajonium says, X Hive healer. Alexandrovich says, I just started doing Artisan's quest for crafting in EQ. Do they have long quests in New World too? Heinz2 says, need some DPS help for some newbies doing Starstone. Gumi says, a data equals 0, Gorgon's eye / a WTS. Lombax says, everyone in Vit raid. Lightspeed says, XXX light. Alexandrovich says, played UO2. Sis Da Boy says, GG. Oh Leroy says, GG. Dank God says, anyone else play on Ultravid and hate where the UI is? Uber Hits says, a data equals 0, Gorgon's eye / a WTS. Kajara says, okay, why is there no quick way to assign stat points? Alexanderovich says, oh, .co runs in plane of growth / fear. Nusbut 3000 says, looking for company to do PvP zone and wars. Gapo Taco says, this is the same game, no. Alexanderovich says, Dar got him on 49-inch monitor. Jean Legris says, what is gunpowder used for? I can't find bullets. Tarumpo Alano says, at Dangog yeah it's a Nuaoying. Mrs. Olaf says, has the bleep trying to mess up the gem market? Dank God says, oof, I can't imagine on a 49-inch. Berserker Guts says, F. Dogonium says, X-Healer Hive. Jean Legris says, what is gunpowder used for? I can't find bullets. Alexanderovich says, I wish I could move the chat box to the left more, it's much too in the center. X Richard 29XX says, how much difference is the end game now? Outcast 2 says, X Hive DPS. Mama Cheeks says, Imane 65 in HD no problems. Newport says, Newport's dances. Nitrusty Side says, gunpowder is no longer used, they removed bullets for some dumb reason. Chief Falcon says, Chief Falcon dances. Heinze 2 says, need help with Starstone, any deepsers? Nusbut 3000 says, looking for PvP company. M4RZ says, M4RZ gives the thumbs up. Girl in Red Lol says, girl in Red Lol lit a flower rocket. Alandril says, well bleep.
They don't have any souls.
Xanthier Undying says, need DPSX for mono. Alandril says, WTF. Aldine Mavani says, I'll help Starstone. Nitrusty Side says, I say they didn't need to be removed as they were never an issue. And as to McKay. Unclean Puppy says, took me a minute to realize, anything no longer usable in new relaunch, you can salvage, in case I'm not the only slow one. V3NUS says, V3NUS waves.
There's mention of coin.
Girl in Red Lol says, girl in Red Lol lit a flower rocket. Fing3RM3 says, DPS range hive. Devoff says, Devoff dances. I'm just doing 1T says, X hive DPS. Devoff says, Devoff dances. Mrs. Olaf says, you can't lock gear any longer. Dank God says, press L. Alexanderovich says, what is with these giant stone spheres here by the town? Corinth. Kansas says, X-rayed heals. Tonebone says, LOL so much for Valhalla being dead. Yamber says, Enid -4. Lillian says, you can still lock gear. Chubop says, Chubop gives the thumbs up. Ninja Kami says, LF2 DPS hive. Chubop says, Chubop sits. Chubop says, Chubop dances. Butterfly Girl says, X-Healer hive. Mrs. Olaf says, oh you got to take it off now. Butterfly Girl says, X-Healer hive. Mex Fomtex says, LFG hive. Girl in Red Lol says, girl in Red Lol lit a flower rocket. Coyote Crim says, what's max level? Laffy Taffy says, LF tank and DPS for Hive.
Farmers tonight.
Oria says, Oria dances.
We need to
Girl
know
in
what's
red
going on
lol
out
says,
there.
Girl in red lol lit a flower rocket.
The people are simply...
Butterfly girl says, X Hive.
Word has spread of the true heirs.
Ninja Kami says, LF2 ranged DPS Hive.
You have served Pride One faithfully.
Butterfly girl says, X Hive healer.
But you
Lady Smurf says, LFG Hive.
When the new king is
Butterfly
ready
girl
to
says,
do his
X healer Hive.
I will gladly stand down.
Ninja Kami says, LF1 ranged DPS Hive.
Of course.
Grim Oakenshield says, X Hive DPS. Heinz2 says, LF DPST. Archlord Rinks says, Cutlass Key East, where BNB is. Genjiro says, X Hive Firestaff DPS. Lasroth Wolfbane says, where do you get the doubloons? Malkaw says, X Hive. Do IT scared says, no. Zonetta Karaf says, jumping animation looks silly. Ninja Kami says, LF1 ranged DPS Hive. Ghost Bishop says, LF tank Hive. Mystery Degrawi says, someone come trade with me at Statue in Windsword for some furniture that is not common.
So Pain believes
X Universe 8 says, is transmog not working for everyone?
we saw signs
Mrs. Olaf says, yeah, I had to go from light to med for Cutlass lol.
no one had actually become that is.
Laffy Taffy says, need 1 DPS ranged for Hive and we are full.
You should know
Mrs. Olaf says, they hit hard here lol.
feel welcome in Pride when
Jupil Snoop says, I'm just now realizing they got rid of durability. Akamaya Sword says, X Hive DPS.
I believe we are ignoring signs.
Hey 69 says, hey.
Corrupted as to the list.
Butterfly Girl says, X Hive healer.
Is the rush of disappearances.
Gerald says, durability, arrows, bullets.
In over the last several weeks.
Ninja Kami says, LF1 ranged DPS Hive.
Minister Locke.
Enceladus says, tank LF Hive group. Mystery Degrawi says, free furniture.
Still, it counsels patience.
Hogun the Grim says, no more repairing.
Believes the return of the royal bloodline will.
Geyserik says, X Hive raged.
I feel strongly that. Oh, I'm sorry.
Frisley says, WTS in bulk a data equals 0, drop of mercury, slash a data equals 1, totem of void, slash a data equals 2, totem of fire, slash a data equals 3, totem of lightning, slash a data equals 4, gritty iron, slash a data equals 5, hardened crystal, slash a less than TP.
Musa is a person.
Aiputangina says, Aiputangina sits.
But it's been a month.
Kanako Bar says, what does line length do for fishing?
And report back.
Aiputangina says, Aiputangina waves.
Of your mission.
Akipo says, longer line faster you can reel it in. Alexandrovich says, did they change zone level for Cutlass keys? Used to be 20-40 I remember. Comcast Solo says, what's that song? Domini Croa says, X Hive DPS. Grand Knight Spike says, Grand Knight Spike has reached font color equals, ed 63E, level 9/font. Menelaus says, hey Brightwood, was that necessary? Otgear Ruinhammer says, is there anything on the new servers that aren't on legacy servers?
But your fortune will be grown.
Comcast Solo says, I don't have any instruments.
When the true heir.
Comcast Solo says, how UMCG says, how do I put my weapon away? Lombax says, hi I search raid group for Gorgon.
That we may build a
Afro Ghost says,
may they know their people.
Vile Cross says, tilde. Gerald says, changed sheath to tilde. How UMCG says, thank you. Cracked Fox says, Cracked Fox rolls a 1. Geralt says, V is push to talk. Halvalu says, that's so hot. Halvalu says, caps. OUMCG says, been a minute since I played. Glide says, need 10 more for Hive. Spuck the White says, please report my name for being offensive. I will pay you in thoughts and players. Lombax says, I search raid group for Gorgon. Copy Pass Desk says, please report my name. Oamignus says, ha. Mike Oxenheimer says, XD. Oamignus says, +1 upvote.
Hey, are you
Brangle says, R.
Yes, you must
Spuck the White says, reported.
People talk around here, you know.
Servi says, yo, is this game dead? Lord Dave X says, yeah man.
And I was like, well, why haven't they helped
PvP Ollie says, N.
Silly Geardy, it's because you haven't.
Gregorio says, this game looks terrible. PvP Ollie says, oh.
Honey, so delicious, it's called
Corporal Hicks says, W.
a special reserve up on Hiriath. Look,
Cabadian says,
my
yup.
honeycombs and I'll give you some to taste.
Spuck the White says, your mom looks terrible. Alexandria says, X-Hive DPS. Oamignus says, anyone know how to hide Helm? The right click on it doesn't do anything anymore. Comcast Solo says, love you long time. Galadriel says, a data equals 0, Gaiaswim, /a. Yeah says, yeah. Jazzy Ray says, X-Hive. Crack Fox says, Crack Fox waves. Yarb says, it should be under your char, not at the bottom of the bleep screen, WTF. Sir Cocker says, PC trash. Lombax says, I search raid group for Gorgon. I-57 says, GGS Val 7 WT tie. XKillVNX says, X-Hive. Luffy Kodat says, Nuhan. Zigreeks says, LF Expedition Carry. Joey Huey says, at Sir Cocker, took you 10 minutes to type that huh? Joey Huey says, poor console. Explosive says, I can no longer stack 5 free dom. Sir Cocker says, cry. Chastain says, Chastain blows fire from his mouth. Alexandria says, A. Sensen says, X-Hive. Chastain says, Chastain points over there.
But I'm the one who needs
Cliptops says, Opti.
We've lost men, lost equipment.
Noble Duelist says, R.
Strong defenses for the regent and her people.
Viavaline says, X-Hive heal.
Without resources.
All C7 says, we trying Hive again? All C7 says, has anyone passed the first boss?
I wish that you could.
Alexandria says, X-Hive DPS.
Workers, all of them. All equipped with
Bill's Toolshed says, how's New World now? El Prof Longaniza says, what dungeon drop Bloodrinker? Bill's Toolshed says, any better? Agent Molasses says, hyphen. Archimedes says, Archimedes dances with sparklers. Tawny Kaiden says, Starstone mutation drops Bloodrinker. Lombax says, I search raid group for Gorgon. El Prof Longaniza says, thanks. Hugo Slong says, LF tank heal DPS -barn.
But so does Wool.
Asta23 says, tie at I-57.
I've made a fair garment for many.
Blur Gray says, X.
Even my darling Eddie.
Potter's Loot says, LF1 healer Hive first
Yes.
boss.
My foolish heart.
Foley says, LF DPS Hive.
He toiled too hard to.
Foley says, good group just have a lil brain.
I'd go to the
Alexandria
mountains
says,
myself, but his
X Hive
brother Jeff is walking
DPS.
away.
Kuz says, X-Hive.
That'd be lovely.
TH333 says, people ganking the bridge to Citadel. Need DPS players to kill them all.
It's our anniversary today.
Connor says, X-Hive DPS Ren/Weaken.
Doesn't have a gift for me.
Raylia says, a data equals 0, Throne of the Minotaur, /A. Asuna Sao Yuki says, DPS looking for a raid. Asuna Sao Yuki says, raid. Potter's Loot says, LF1 Healer Hive. Modite says, how turn off the dude speaking everything on the chat lol. Brr Gray says, X. Aiputangina says, Aiputangina sits. Aiputangina says, Aiputangina waves. Girl of Steel says, the one thing I hate is starting character and my friend did the same but is in different zone. Y3 Urdua says, X heals. Me 11 man says, need to do anyone need a DPS? Kuz says, X Hive. Caston says, Scrandy, you here? Eclipsimo says, Muscat Island so funny. Sensen says, X Hive. Fighting Words says, ooh yay. Typical Toast says, DPS X Hive. Brr Gray says, X. Mortimer Thomas says, any SO vets in here? How does the veteran difficulty compare? 4 Oprah says, 11 more PPL for Hive. The Kipler says, nice. Kuz says, X Hive. Carolina Dawa says, X Hive. 4 Oprah says, 10 more PPL for Hive. Typical Toast says, X. Turkinator says, X Hive heals or DPS. Avianite Knight says, X Hive. Xenophobia says, X Hive. Raylia says, X Hive I can DPS or heal. Viavaline says, X Hive heal. Killadin says, where is the single player repeatable stuff? Raylia says. Creamy Bum says, a data equals 0, Gorgon's Eye / a WTS. Mizero says, can I join a group that's doing some of the newer stuff so I can get gear that is higher level than what I have? Avianite Knight says, X Hive DPS. Corrupted Ice says, X Hive. Tewakamono says, X DPS Hive. Sensen says, X Hive DPS. El Prof Longaniza says, mutations rotate every week. Brightua says, X Hive. Hugo Slong says, LF Tank DPS hyphen barn. Pibai says, X. Archimedes says, Archimedes waves. Powder Donut says, LOL. Avianite Knight says, X. Raylia says, X Hive I can DPS or heal. Lil Poppet says, X Hive. Tangled Boy TTV says, how to make camp now? Been a long time since I played. Squeaky L Toy says, why? Tangled Boy TTV says, tie. Cliff Chunjax says, Cliff Chunjax blows a kiss. Santa Craft says, S. Avianite Knight says, X Hive. And Iwan says, they didn't give us bleep for our arrows lol. Nomad 1524 says, gay. Von Hellsmith says, lol not like the arrows or bullets were hard to make. Braggle Rose says, does anyone want to go solar? Malka says, X Hive. Sensen says, X Hive. Hugo Slong says, LF tank DPS hyphen barn. Hugo Slong says, LF tank DPS hyphen barn hyphen GF. Luckyun says, Luckyun dances. Vegas 1v9 says, 9. Lombax says, X Hive. Puriuri says, X Hive heals. Ispy2 says, at Boss Hive need one more. Raylia says, X Hive. Dweeb says, what's the rec GS for Hive? Pibai says, X Hive. Swap says, am stuck. Von Hellsmith says, is the lightning bow artifact any good? Uffa says, unstick then lol. Skinzix says, X Hive DPS. Tewakamono says, X Hive DPS. I-57 says, stone a cutting bug. Puriuri says, X Hive heals. Sine says, a data equals, 0, pattern, oak regent antlers, / a WTS. Von Hellsmith says, a data equals, 0, bold caster, / a data equals, 1, sin, / a just got those off my WT run, bow seems weak foe. Low 1v9 says, LF1 DPS raid seconds boss. Archimedes says, Archimedes dances with sparklers. Archimedes says, Archimedes waves. Tewakamono says, X Hive DPS. Mukasaur says, X. All C7 says, what stone a cutting bug? Surly Shirley says, X Hive second boss. Kuz says, X Hive. Skinzix says, in Hive DPS. China Q says, X Hive. Typical Toast says, X Hive. Zelotus says, 13.50 INI. Recall to in. Would you like to recall to this in? Press circle for no, press square for yes. Zelotus says, wrong chat, sorry. Loading. Please wait. Dweeb says, X Hive heals. Mitramorius says, Mitramorius waves. Jarqualis says, LF4 1 heal 1 tank 2 DPS Hive. Sine says, WTS a data equals, 0, pattern, oak regent antlers, / a. Hogan the Grim says, I really like this totally new and different version. Takadki says, need 1 DPS first boss raid. All C7 says, Gui sucks. Hogan the Grim says, okay not that different but I like it. I-57 says, nah, found it at outfitting. Pants says, X DPS Hive. Pants says, X DPS Hive. All C7 says, yes.